Hi, I'm David, and I have no idea why I'm here. Who booked this? Carlo? Did you book this? No one knows.
Carlo's not here. There's nobody named Carlo. David is mistaken.
Okay, just a
Da-
hallucination.
David Andrew Wiebe, so happy to have you here. You're a award-winning and best-selling author, multi-award-winning composer, and a creative entrepreneur. Okay, I was like, where do I start with this guy? There's so
Yeah.
much to go into. So I guess I'll just ask, what's next for you? Running for office, releasing an album? What is it for you?
Yeah, clearly, all those things. And you can add award-winning entrepreneur to that list. I'm actually going to Vegas to pick up my award in entrepreneurial excellence. Have no idea what it means or if it means anything, but it is pretty cool that I was invited and I'm being recognized. And what's next has been the big question of the year, to be perfectly honest. And I've had 8 different ideas, and none of them have quite, struck the chord in the way that I want. But with my coach, I'm working on what is my purpose, and so she's having me look at my values. And that was really the initial question: is what are your values? I was like, I don't know. Can you pick words like creativity? She says, no, creativity is your power. So what are your values? And so it's been a really challenging session in trying to figure this out and get all the stuff out of the way that impedes or doesn't allow you to see your purpose. That's been part of the whole thing too. But yeah, I think I see more books in my future. I think I see more music in my future. And it really is just a matter of, I think, sliding into the right opportunities, not some low leverage models that require me to grind my way out 50 bucks at a time. You know what I mean? I've already
Yep.
been there. I did those years and paid my dues. So
Yes, yeah, I was there as well. It's no fun, but it just goes to show, I think, that if you have drive and you feel like you're trying to find your purpose, that is what will guide you through those tough years. So I know there's probably listeners to this show that are going through that right now, but I'll say
mhm.
for me, it was always just, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just getting there is the journey.
Yeah. And you gotta enjoy the journey too, and you gotta take the
Mhm.
time to celebrate yourself and your victories when they happen. Because oftentimes it's not met with a lot of fanfare. It's not like your friends are that excited for you when you win an award or have a big show or, you know, get a best-selling book. Some people are actually watching going like, well, wanting to cast an evil eye on you or, "I wish that were me," or, how the heck did this guy, uh, get this kind of accomplishment in the last 2 years when he was virtually homeless previously. That's going through people's minds always.
Of course. So you mentioned it. You're heading to Vegas here in a couple days. I think it's 3 days. You're going to be there
Yeah.
accepting that award. Have you ever been to Vegas before?
No, that's the other thing too, like, this will be my first time, so that'll be kind of fun to go and see it for myself. I'm told just walk in and out of hotels, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds easy enough. I think I can manage that without making any major plans," and I like, being spontaneous. I guess I'll probably be at the conference, kind of, I imagine I haven't actually looked at the schedule, but close to a 9 to 5 for 3 days, and then I'll maybe have 2 or 3 days to myself to enjoy, hoping to find a group down there amongst these founders who I can resonate with and hang out with too, but sometimes you don't, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Well, Vegas is a very interesting place. I will tell you that as you're walking down the street, if you start getting, hey, over here, ignore it because
Yeah.
they will get some money out of you. And so that's always what I tell people. Like it's like you're in New York, how it's like you're just gotta be focused and I'm going this direction. I'm just gonna go that direction. It's the same way in Vegas. It's just you're literally getting people calling out because they want to get oh, pictures. Here, take a picture with Spider-Man. Oh, that'll be 60 bucks, So just be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, there's hustlers out there for sure. Like, I just came from Hollywood the other week, and I think, look, gas prices are very high. Everything's very high right now. But from the airport to Hollywood, and I don't think it was. Uber, but maybe Ride or something like that, $177.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
I mean, at the end of the day, joke's on him. I didn't do a single Uber ride after that, and my friend drove me to the airport when I would left. So I was able to walk from the conference and everywhere else. So at the end of the day, I, I, I could have had 5 Uber rides that would have totaled about the same amount anyway. I think
Gosh.
it worked out. But you gotta, yeah, you gotta be cautious out there because there are people hustling, and they'll just be like, "Yeah, so we'll take you there, and it's $200." And you're like, for less than an hour ride. That's
Yeah, right.
crazy.
Yep. Do I have money coming out of my ears? Like, no. So no, I'm not paying that. Um,
Yeah.
David, I wanted to ask you about Spark Infinity.
Mm.
So please tell us about that.
It's a creative community that I got started kinda towards the end of 2024. I really had no intention in starting a Facebook group. I did not have much faith in the model whatsoever. And then my friend Amos built a Facebook group, and it got massive, and I think it's over 30,000 members today. It's called ENTV. He's managed to grab a few famous marketers and entrepreneurs to be on his show and things like that too. So he's had a pretty good time with it, and he's generated an income from it. So I adopted his model. I joined his programs. I looked at what was what, and then once I got going, I was like, "Oh, this is surprising! Like it actually is kind of a viable model." And once you start seeing that growth jump up from 100 to 300 and 300 to 500 and 500 to 700, you're kind of going like, gee, this is kind of quicker than trying to build an email list. Not to be down on email at all. I still think that's far more important. I still think of building a website and I honestly think a forum is much cooler than than a Facebook group, to be honest, because it's better organized and people can find content easier and all that kind of stuff. But I stuck with the process. It grew to 2,200. The climate's changed quite a bit as far as like interviewing people to grow your membership on Facebook. Like that model right now, perhaps because it's been done to death by multiple people, including myself, does not seem as viable at the moment. But because a lot of
Mm,
people have experienced much faster growth too. But still, having grown it to 2,200, I publish new content in there, and generally I try to repurpose. So it'll go on my blog, it'll go on YouTube, it'll go on other destinations as well. But I do keep up with the group and try to hang out with them when I can.
very cool. And where do you call home base? Are you in British Columbia?
That's right. Yeah, Vancouver or Greater Vancouver has been my home for a while. I had to fight for that. And in fact, my friend did not warn me, but she did say after the fact, yes, people very frequently have to fight for 2 to 3 years just to kind of stay here, build the right connections, have the right income sources to be able to live here in the first place. So,
Very nice. Yep. No, I love Vancouver. I've actually never been, but I've known many people who have lived in Vancouver, and they all say like, yeah, we're an industrial city, but it's a beautiful city. There's a lot of startups and
mhm.
just a very, very nice place to live and work.
Yeah, it's also called Hollywood North because there is a pretty strong presence with Netflix and other production companies. So, yeah, there's movies and entertainment, and there's all kinds of stuff going on.
So again, I mentioned all the stuff that you're doing. Just hands everywhere. You are also you just released a new line of shirts, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So, and this was largely for the Spark Infinity community because there were people who said, I would love to have that shirt as well. But to kind of give you the short version of it, I was going down to a conference called Music Pro 26. That is why I was down in Hollywood. I was invited to be kind of a token interviewer, Rip Taylor type guy. It didn't all, pan out that way. I guess I kind of felt like a casual attendee at the end of the day. I sent my feedback to the organizers just so they knew kind of where I stood on this. But I figured I should have a t-shirt first and foremost. And second of all, preferably the t-shirt would introduce who I am. Hey, I'm David. And it would also tell people what company I'm from or what I do. So I had Indie Career Formula, which is where all my musician resources now live. on the t-shirt. And the first draft, I live streamed the process. I'm pretty adept at Photoshop, so it's not like this was going to take forever. It's just font selection and things like that, and positioning elements that took a little longer. And then I got some feedback, and people were like, this is no good. Like, it's for sure the functional purpose of introducing myself and what I do, but they were like, there's you're going to Hollywood, like, your t-shirt really has to stick out a little bit more than this. Incorporate a star into your design. It's like, well, feels a bit obvious, but let me drop in the star into the design and see what happens. And it worked. So now I had to rebalance everything. And this is where I used a little bit of AI, not to design the thing, just to go back and forth on some ideas. What do you think? What should I do here? And then completed the design. Not on the second session, because on the second stream I had issues with scratch discs on Photoshop, and that's a whole other technical thing.
Yep.
uh, but I finished the design on my personal time, and I got the t-shirts done. I got them printed up with Printful. I wore them at Music Pro 26, and then there were people who were like, "I would like one," and I said, "Wait, hold on, but you're not David, so are you biffed in the head, or?" And they're like, "No, no, I don't want it to say David." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll put together a new template, the Indie Career Formula T-shirt with just the star on it, and make that available." And so that's now what's available in
Nice, very cool.
different bundles.
Well, if I get one, I want it to say David on mine. So,
I can get you one, absolutely.
there we
Just
go.
let me know where your, mailing address is, and I'll get that sent over.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, David, I think we're going to get into our random topics. So I'm going to pull up the generator here for you to see as we. Yep,
Love it.
there we go.
Let's do this.
Office coffee.
Office
Interesting.
coffee.
Okay, so I'm guessing you work remotely for the most part. Do you go into an office at all?
You would be correct, sir. I don't think I've ever been to an office, although I did go into a retail place for a little bit. So I can't say I have too much experience with office coffee. I think if I really searched my mind, maybe I met with my financial advisor, or maybe something like that, and had a coffee in the office. But that's about all that comes to mind.
Yeah, so I mean, I actually was fully remote from 2016 until early this year. Started going to an
Hmm.
office again, and it is interesting to see. We've got the Keurig office coffee machine now, and people bring in their own little pods, and they. I am not a coffee drinker. So for me, I never partake. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh, we got Panera delivered," and four giant things of coffee, and people down it so quick. But
Hmm.
I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm like, I don't really partake in the office coffee even when I'm there.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point too. Like, nowadays, I've replaced pretty much every form of caffeine with this, which is caffeine, but it is healthy and tasty and somewhat addicting. I have to admit, it's a yerba mate and no sugar, but it's not artificial sweeteners either, because I can't drink that ever.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people love their diet sodas, and I can't do it at all. I just feel terrible on any kind of aspartame or any kind of artificial sweetener. But
Yep.
yeah, yerba mate with the highest grade organic stevia, it's pretty great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just I've never been into the taste, and I will admit, man, back when I
Hmm.
was in high
Yeah,
school, I drank a lot of soda.
been
I
there.
was literally drinking, yeah, I was drinking probably 4 or 5 a day, and so it got to a point when I was like 19 or 20, caffeine didn't really do to me what it should. Like I was, I could drink one before bed, and then go straight to bed, no problem at all. And so I kind of said, you know what? Let's reset. And I stopped drinking soda. I didn't have any caffeine really at all for a good 6 months. And then I remember when I
Oh,
took my first soda, I was 20, I think, at the time. I took my first soda. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll get a soda. And I think we were at like a gas station. I was like, sure, why not? And I drank it and I was like, oh, this is what caffeine does to people. Like, and I was wired, and it was
Yeah.
like, man, this is kind of nice.
I've been able to go stretches without caffeine, and sometimes it's absolutely been necessary too, just because my nervous system just wasn't in ship shape, and so if I consumed caffeine, not only would I feel wired, but I would also start to feel a bit of anxiety, and then just a simple task like driving would cause untold anxiety. So, but it's just being mindful of your nervous system. It's been a lot better for me since.
Yep.
It's just being mindful. I don't drink much caffeine if I'm flying or before a long car ride down somewhere or road trip. So it's just knowing when to use it and when to not.
What's funny is, my cousin was over, gosh, it was a couple years ago, and he was gonna go grab another beer out of my fridge, and he comes back and he's holding water, and I said, "Oh, I thought you said you were grabbing a beer," and he was just like, "You know what? I don't even really want to drink. I just needed something." Like, he's like, "I don't want to drink beer. I just wanted something to drink." And he's like, "Why grab a beer if I could just water does the trick?" And I kind of tell people that story now, and I'm like, when people order soda or tea or coffee, even, like, a lot of times you're just looking for something to sip on. So you might as well just drink some water. And for me, like, that's kind of what I tell myself now. I go into the kitchen, and first thought is, grab a soda, grab a beer, grab, some kind of juice that's got so much artificial stuff
Mhm.
in it. But it's like, dude, you just want something to drink. Just grab some water. That's all you need.
That's the best. I mean,
Yep.
hydrate as much as you can. I did a little weight loss protocol last year, and it suggested drinking a gallon of water, I think,
Hmm.
1.5 liters per day. And I stuck to that. Uh, Spring water is clearly better than something like tap water, but if you can at least filter it, there you go. That's something.
I have a friend that just moved. She's actually driving today. Moved to Reno, and
Hmm,
from here, from St. Louis, and apparently, I guess the place she's staying at, the apartment complex, they sent her an email that says, um, you know, basically prepping for living in the dry heat, and it says, start drinking water now. Drink a
yeah,
gallon a day, because basically, that way your body will be a little bit more able to handle the heat when she's out in Nevada. And I thought that is a really interesting thing to think, because like, I've moved down to Dallas before, and it is a total different heat than you get here in St. Louis. And it's like, it would have been nice to have a little bit of a prep. Like, I need that, because you go down there and it's like, "Oh my god," it's like you can't even talk, it gets so hot, and, it's just a matter of, you gotta let your body adjust to your surroundings.
yeah. I mean, some areas are so dry, and it's not like you shouldn't drink water if you're in a wet climate. You should also make sure you're adequately hydrated. But I was in Calgary for a very long time, and that is a super dry place. Plus, you get the wind. Plus, you get the cold. So definitely an environment where hydration proved very important.
Yes, yes, it does. So again, we talked about working remotely, up until recently, that was kinda my life too. What is your favorite part about working remotely?
I think it might be the only way, to be honest. But you know what? You know what's good about it? And I think a lot of people have their life organized around, okay, I go to work and then I go to the gym, or maybe some people go to the gym first and then they go to work, and then they go to the grocery store, and then they go home, and then they make supper. But it's just so much easier for me to do everything from the same environment, and the time loss I can put back into something that I really want to do. So it's more like I can finish my work, I can make lunch at home, I can meditate immediately after, I can have a workout immediately after that, I can have supper and then jump back into the projects that I want to do. So that saving a little bit of that time, even if the commute's 15, 30 minutes both ways, you don't feel like the day's completely gone. I can finish at 4:30 or 5 and then meditate and work out and have supper by 6:30, you know?
Yeah, that's nice. No, it's same here. When I was going into an office back in the day, I I was in a part of St. Louis that was very traffic filled. And so, I'd leave work at 5 or whatever, and I'd say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to, head straight to the gym. I got my gym bag with me." And then I would drive and I'd be stuck in traffic for 35 minutes. So not only am I like, "Okay, now it's almost 6 o'clock. I still haven't eaten dinner. I haven't seen my family." Um, but I'm like, I'm exhausted from sitting in traffic. I don't want to go to the gym now, and it's like that
Mm,
was the kind of thing that was getting kind of pushed to the wayside was like, well, something's got to give. I got to just delete some time from my day so I have time to do the other things I want to do. And then when I started working remotely, it was like I got off work at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever. And I'd be like, I still feel good. Like I'm going to go
yeah.
to the gym. I'm going to go for a walk. And you just all of a sudden, you just kind of realize like, not that driving really takes it out of you, it's just that's like you said, that's just another one of those steps of your everyday that's like, well, that's one thing I can't cut out. I have to drive to work. So, yeah, when you can remove that, it is very nice.
Definitely, and I'm just not big on compromise that way. But the opposite also applies to an extent that I have to be mindful, or I have to be more intentional about going for a walk, or going outdoors, or going for a drive, or taking a shower. All those things have to be done more intentionally, so that there's time to gather inspiration and just relax the mind, relax the body when it needs it too.
So, obviously, as a writer, as a musician, I know musicians get this too. Writer's block is a very real thing in my life.
Mm.
English graduate, working on a novel myself right now, but it's like sometimes that writer's block hits me. So, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you do in those situations where you're just not feeling motivated?
Oh, oddly enough, I might not be the right person to ask because I have been burnt out, and that makes it pretty challenging to write, but not
Oh yeah,
impossible. But writer's block, I haven't experienced, but I have
really?
yeah, but I will say
Wow.
I have experienced lack of motivation.
Yes.
And that's what happened earlier this year, and it's not like it was resistance, but I went down to LA, and then I went to Miami, then I went on a cruise, and then spent some time in Miami, and then came home, and all of that was life-altering and beautiful and amazing and in so many different ways, but I was sick. So I
Mm,
was physically sick, I was mentally weak, and I was emotionally fragile, and all those things kinda hit at once, and I didn't have total awareness until recently, but, like, a fire got lit under me probably March 31st, and then I was ready to go, but I don't know why March 31st, right? But it was the case that I did not have motivation this year for 3 whole months, and so what I've really learned about that is life is supposed to be an adventure. Sometimes you need a quote unquote forced vacation. Sometimes you need to just invest in yourself, in your well being, in your personal development, and focus on that. And don't concern yourself with lack of motivation. Just be mindful, or like know when it's back, and then utilize that. So it's just seasons, and it's nothing to worry about ever. It's just about how you utilize that season, because the less the worry you worry about it, the better anyway. So lean into what's there, if that's rest, or if that's feeling sick, or if that's feeling unmotivated, lean right into it, and it'll be over. It's a season. So
yeah, I like that. So, so for you, again, somebody who's so involved in many different worlds, um, how do you kind of space it out? Where you're like, today I want to work on music. Tomorrow I'm gonna finish my book. The day after that, I got to work on stuff with Spark Infinity. How do you kind of have like a mapped out day to where you kind of reserve time, or is it just kind of come and go differently as the day goes?
that's a big thing. Having a to-do list, I think, first and foremost, is the big one. I tend to make lists differently depending on what my life sort of requires of me or needs of me right now. The ideal is definitely daily to-do lists, just so that I can actually let my subconscious stew on it in between, right? While I'm sleeping or while I'm doing other things. But sometimes I'll create a weekly to-do list like I have been this year, either due to lack of motivation or just like I don't have a lot of things necessarily that need my immediate attention, but there are things that absolutely need to be done at some point, such as, making sure my car insurance is up to date. So little things like that. And so I think it is definitely building a routine around what's needed. I like Dan Kennedy's idea of, hey, today is my writing day, tomorrow is my marketing day, and then Wednesday is my music day, or however you would conceive of that. But I do find that the default right now anyway is content creation. So it really is like, I know I'm going to probably write something every day. Whether or not that's something that's published or immediately seen by the audience is a whole other thing. I do believe in writing every day. I just don't believe in publishing every day. I did that for 22 months, and you just kind of end up sacrificing quality for,
Yep.
you publish because you have to publish. You don't really publish necessarily what your audience wants or expects, and then it has the reverse effect of what you want it to do, which is
Yep.
no good. So yeah, I'm gonna write every day, and then I'm also gonna figure out where I'm gonna dedicate some time to creating a video. And right now, I'm just on a bi-weekly YouTube schedule. The intention is to go weekly as soon as possible because by now I have a good backlog of stuff to share with people. But the content creation, it feeds all the channels. So it'll feed my blog, it'll feed the YouTube channel, it'll feed my podcast, and it'll feed Spark Infinity. And it'll just come out, staggered at different times. There's tools that make it possible to keep a pretty omnipresence in on social media nowadays. Opus Clip is one of my favorite go-tos for that. Just turns your long form videos into shorter clips with AI technology automatically, and you can connect up to 6 social destinations. So I like that a lot. But yeah, I guess right now I don't have anything set in stone, but I will begin to mold my schedule around what I believe I'm meant to focus on probably pretty rapidly here.
Yeah, I'll admit I got that ADHD brain, where it's like, I'll start doing something
Yeah.
and then I'm like, "Oh, I should probably switch to this." And then it's like I got 8 projects I've started and none of them are finished. So for me, something I started doing was I started keeping an online calendar. I've showed this to guests before, but like I have my notepad, which just I'll show you looks absolutely insane.
Yes, it
Um,
does.
but yeah, this is like my scratch pad. So I always have it for, when the oh, remember, you got to do this on, April 18th or whatever. And, but it just that method, it wasn't working because, as you get older and as you start getting into more commitments, it's like, oh man, like, I can't just keep this on a scratch pad. I need to have like an actual thing that I can look at. And so I started keeping a Google Calendar. I even got like a daily checklist where it's like, okay, did you do this today? Did you do that today? And it's really not even just to kind of like keep myself in check. It's more, okay, today, this is what you need to focus on. Like, you've got so many things that you want to get done. There's so many different areas that you want to touch. This will help you. You're going to focus on this today and you're going to focus on that tomorrow. And that has been a game changer for me. And I know some people it doesn't work for them, but I know for me it has been very helpful.
Oh yeah, like I'm totally neurospicy too, and kind of went through all that. Let me launch 18 different niche websites and that whole thing. And really interesting that like some success gurus, and I'm definitely not down on them in any way. I perfectly respect the vast majority of them and have gotten a lot out of things that I've learned from them. But they will frequently say, well, if you can't believe that you can lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months, you should believe you can do it over the course of a year. I'm like, a year? I want to do that now, right? So I'm a little bit like, I want to play to my strengths. I can do something for 90 days. I know I can, right? I've gotten to that point. I don't know if my attention can sustain for 180 days. I don't know if my attention can sustain for 9 months, maybe. But I definitely know that my attention can sustain for 90 days on a project. And I'm still gonna have little rabbit trails, don't get me wrong, but if it's like a book, oh yeah, I can have my next book. If I know what I'm talking about, if I know my subject matter, I can have my next book in 90 days. So it is just getting dialed in for those more short-term completions that are hopefully part of your more cohesive purpose like we talked about. If
Yeah.
it's just projects in isolation, unfortunately, how many Facebook creators, how many they're out there, right? It's like, oh, today I'm doing poetry, and tomorrow I'm doing inspirational quotes, and then the next day I'm doing AI slop. It's like, yeah, but it's neat that you're trying and experimenting, and everyone should have an experimental phase, but you don't have an overarching umbrella or purpose to what you're doing, so it's not going to be perceived as cohesive by the people viewing it, and then a lot of people will just tune out anyway. So
Yeah.
it's about using that, like, okay, I can hyper focus for a short period of time, and also knowing how that ties back into the greater purpose.
Right. Let me ask, you've written multiple books, blogs, you've been all over the place. So for you, what was the most rewarding thing that you've written? I mean, and maybe that might even be a song for you, whatever it is, but to you, like, if you were to narrow it down and say, man, that time of my life when I wrote this, like, it had so much meaning for me and it had so much meaning for the people who read it. What would that be for you?
That's a really tough one. I think maybe in recent history it would be The Renegade Musician. And this was written, or much of it was really written during a period of my life that was very chaotic. I did have the intention of becoming a digital nomad and living out of Airbnbs for a while, but I had to leave my basement suite, I think, in 2022. So the pandemic and all those things had just kind of started subsiding. Some people were still pretty on edge about it.
Mhm.
As I figured out pretty quickly staying at certain Airbnbs that that not everybody wanted to be in close proximity.
Right.
But somehow I managed to squeeze in a lot of writing and a lot of creativity into my days, even when I was staying in one Airbnb for 4 days and then staying in a hotel for 3 days and then sleeping on a couch for a week. Even as all that was going on and it was totally crazy, I managed to put together what I felt was the magnum opus of my contribution to the music business. And what the thing about the renegade musician is it's taking some things for granted. It's taking for granted the fact that you know about live performance and you know how to do it. And if you don't, you know which sources to go to get a better sense of where that is. You know about recording, you know about releasing, you know about Spotify. It's taking most of those things for granted. And this is what most music businesses obsess about, is those things. And I'm like, man, you're a smart musician. You know that stuff already. So let me bring you to back to earth. Let's focus on some mindset and let's really give you some strong marketing capacity or marketing skills or marketing expertise to be able to get your music in a world on purpose and never run out of ideas ever again as far as where to post your music, how to post your music, how to get more traction out of it, how to generate more income streams. Let's make this limitless so you can actually make this happen if you were serious about it.
Yeah. Renegade Musician, you said it was 3 years ago you wrote it? 3, 4 years ago, right?
I published it in 2024. So I think I would have started like 2022, 2023 on it.
Okay. So, obviously things change fast in the digital world. Is there any of that that's you've had to go back and update, or is it still, like something that is kind of timeless, like, hey, this is always going to be your guiding light.
Yeah, a good chunk of it is timeless and there isn't too much that I would have to update now. I did find and replace every mention of Twitter before publishing it because it had changed to X. Not like it was all over the book in the first place, but that was a good thing to do. I didn't touch on AI at all because that wasn't really a thing, but I think it's still sort of ponderous or dubious how one might use AI to their advantage. you can do things like bring up Suno and type in your lyrical ideas, or maybe prompt for a specific style of music, and then listen to it and maybe incorporate the ideas that you hear. But I don't know if that's any different from, or if it's really more advantageous than going and jamming with some friends and like coming up with something cool, coming up with a cool arrangement, coming up with something that AI wouldn't come up with. You know what I mean? So to me, it's still very ponderous and dubious. There's definitely things you can do with it from a marketing side, have it create marketing assets for you, although that you still got to be kind of the person to put a check mark on it and approve it at the end of the day. Otherwise, it's just junk. A lot of it is slop. But there are some cool things you can do on the marketing side, or generating a bio if you have the right prompt, you know.
Yeah. Right. So that's a lot of what I do, in my professional life is,
Me
uh,
too.
kinda, yeah, working with people and getting them to learn how AI works, and it's just funny because, there's still so many people who don't really understand that a lot of what AI is gonna do is tell you exactly what you wanna hear,
Yes.
and, so, it's just funny, like, no, don't ask it, "What do you think of this?" Ask it, maybe more along the lines of, like, "What would you change? What should be different?" And, it's kinda just even in the way you ask the question to AI, that you wanna get the right responses, so, and it's funny the different Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, all the different ones out there. You mentioned a couple as well, how they're all good in different areas. And,
Yeah.
some people just think, oh, ChatGPT, just go to that. And it's like, well, depending on what you want, Copilot might actually be the way to go. So it
So
really just
true.
kind of depends on, what you want from those AI bots, and the right way to ask them is very important as well.
Huge, yeah, and I use a tool called, Abacus, or it's created by Abacus. It's actually LLM, or Chat LLM. It has all the models built into it, so it's what developers would call kind of a playground, right? So whether it's
Mhm.
Claude or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Nano Banana, it's all in there, and you can pick and choose, or you can let their built-in LLM decide which one would fit your prompt the best automatically. So I like that, but more often than not, the way in which I use it is like I feed it transcripts, maybe to come up with summaries or posts for Facebook. It's
Yep.
really basic, and I know like I'm gaining some efficiencies. It is maybe a little bit quicker than it used to be. I don't want to have to write a summary for every single podcast episode I put out there.
Yep.
Those show notes used to take so much effort, and
Oh,
because I mean, I believed in delivering, right?
yep. I'm
So
with you. I, I
yeah,
I've been podcasting now for 15 years, and I remember my first couple show notes that I wrote. I must have spent 30 minutes on them, and now I'm like,
yeah,
AI, write them for me.
exactly. And you're gonna get something that is of reasonable quality. If you were to like outsource it to overseas or get a freelancer to do it, it's gonna be about the same quality. That's what I've
Yep.
noticed anyway. I don't
Mhm.
like it because they'll just shove keywords in there where they don't belong, or capitalize things they don't want to capitalize. But, if you don't fuss over perfectionism, like, is every blog post supposed to be, or is every podcast episode supposed to be your winner? Like right now, the archive in podcasting anyway, the archive is so much bigger than new episodes. They're talking about optimizing old episodes because that's where people go and they binge listen. And you want to make sure your top performing episodes are visible to your audience and all that kind of stuff. It just depends what's going on in the world right now. And that's what's going on in the world right now as far as podcasting goes.
Yeah, it does, and I always say that AI is an excellent tool. It's never the end all be all. So
Yeah.
when I have AI like write my show description, it's yes, AI wrote it, but I came through with a fine tooth comb and combed through it and made sure it sounds like a human wrote it, basically.
Definitely. I mean, I will do the same thing. And if there's anything in there that I don't particularly like, I will change it or edit it or just remove it.
Yep.
And yeah, absolutely. It's a tool.
Yep.
And like I said, a freelancer who's not familiar with your business would pretty much do the same thing. They would just kind of generalize as much as possible, give you kind of democratic or political slant on all of it to keep it
Yep.
everyone happy, all the readers happy. And you're not
So,
like as a marketer, you're not supposed to, or you're not trying to make everyone happy. You're trying to make some people angry and some people really happy.
yeah, that's very true. David, I want to ask you about obviously you're a guy that's always got the wheels turning in your head. There's always something on the horizon for you. What are you working on right now? And obviously your level of detail, it's up to you how you want to word it. But yeah, just kind of interested to hear what's going on in your life right now.
I do seem to go somewhat spontaneously with the flow of things, but like the t-shirt thing kind of came together pretty organically. So that felt like something that I wanted to put together for my audience and something fun for them to check out if they really wanted the Hollywood star style t-shirt. And I would say indie career formula has taken a few different iterations over time. Like I tend to document my journey and talk about a lot of different things creatively and entrepreneur wise on davidandrewwiebe.com, which for some people is totally interesting. And for some people is just a disconnect because they're like, is there a dedicated space where I can find your music stuff? And so that's what indie career formula is for. But that it needs work, and I ran it as a membership and a newsletter for a while. And I said, I don't know if that's like, because it does mean carving out a certain amount of time, constantly coming out with new content, constantly serving the audience. And I figured might be the better choice for the time being to like make my books available, make my courses available, make really meaningful bundles available, and make coaching programs available. We'll talk about the membership thing later if it really makes sense to do. But for now, have more like standalone products that are kind of passive in their own way. Like I intend to update everything, update the courses, update the books as needed, and maybe add workbooks. There's always going to be new deliverables within that scope, but kinda make it a little more like, not static, but make it a little bit more like, "Here's what's available, and this is what these books are for, or this is what this bundle's for." So I'm in the process of organizing Indie Career Formula, and it maybe even shouldn't be online in its current form, but hoping to put this together quickly.
There you go. Yeah, well, I mean, the way that creators' minds work, it's like you look at it and you're like, "Oh, I can have this done so quickly." And then it's a month
Yeah.
later and you're like, "I'm still working on this. This is insane."
Exactly, and just like
Yeah.
everyone else, like, I made a mess of this thing, and I didn't know what it was going to be at first. I think I was pretty certain it was gonna be for musicians, but I launched all kinds of products and all kinds of campaigns. So in the back end, there's a lot of stuff that simply is not going to go to any use anymore.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's paring down and making it easier for everyone involved. Multi-step funnels,
Yep.
that was a big thing, and it's good to have a funnel. It's good to experiment with funnels, but if if you want to make that your dedicated living, then you're also kind of committing yourself to having to advertise, having to dream 100, having to publish. Like that's kind of your full-time thing if that's the direction you're going in. So
Yep, that makes sense. Okay, well, David, I want to ask you one last question as we close up here, and yes, we spent the whole episode talking about office coffee because that was
yeah, we
the
did.
best topic ever. Um, what's something about you? So obviously, you are out there. You've got podcasts, you've got YouTube. You know, David Andrew Wiebe is. You can look you up and find out so much about you. What's something about you that most people maybe don't know?
Probably certainly stuff that would come up in personal interactions, but may not always work its way into my content or otherwise. I do some impressions. They're not all great, but since I was a kid, I've always messed around with my voice and stretched the limits of what I could do. So, police siren sounds, a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger, a little bit of Barney Gumble, can kind of do, most of the Muppets. They're all the same voice.
Oh,
Uh,
I gotta hear Animal. Come on.
Animal's not one I can recall off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But,
That's great, man.
Kermit, Yoda, Grover, you all have to kinda go into the same place of your throat and the voice to do those, so they're all quite similar.
Yep. Find the
Yeah.
Jim Henson, Frank Oz inside of you. It exists in all of us.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I always say that everybody has their own version of an Arnold, but most are pretty close, actually. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
I know. I think it's one of those things that just really took off as a meme, and then people started. Like you could be waiting in line at a concert or maybe for a movie, and one person starts yelling in Arnold speak, and then suddenly everyone in line is also yelling out some
Yes.
line. So yeah, it's gotten to that point.
Very true. Well, David, again, people want to find everything you do. It's over at David Andrew Wiebe, and that is Wiebe, davidandrewwiebe.com. And then I guess you said it's a Facebook group. How can
Mhm.
people find Spark Infinity on Facebook? Just search it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it actually should be the first thing that comes up. Just be mindful that if you're not searching specifically for groups, there's other profiles or there's other stuff that might pop up, events that we created, stuff like that. But you just make sure you're searching for groups and you can find Spark Infinity. I think a toothbrush recently popped up or not too long ago that's also called Spark Infinity, which is just come on, guys. Like,
Oh man, that's copyright infringement. Come on.
yeah, different
If it were
industry, right?
copyrighted. Yeah, exactly. Well, again, David, thank you very much. Next time I see you, we'll have some office coffee together and we can talk about something else.
Yeah, that sounds good. More topics than office coffee.
The Pondcast, conversations that go nowhere. Produced by Jeff Ponder. Executive produced by Jeff Ponder. Music by Loud C. Smith. Talent booking by Jeff Ponder. Engineering and mixing by Jeff Ponder. A special thanks goes out to John Mulaney for stealing my idea. Remember to rate and review the podcast Conversations That Go Nowhere just because you're a good person. If you're a bad person, you can get some heaven points by rating and reviewing. It's a win-win. Follow the podcast on all social media channels with the profile handle at Pondcast Convos. Thanks for listening.